Motoworld is brought to you by Honda motorcycles and ATC three-wheelers. Honda, follow the leader. Ford and your local Ford dealer who invite you to test drive the 1985 Ford trucks. Ford is America's truck built Ford tough. Dunlop, the world's tire. Worldwide, the Dunlop legend lives. Castrol, motor oil engineered for today's smaller, higher revving engine. And by U.S. Suzuki Motor Corporation, Suzuki man, Suzuki machine. Together, they work like a single moving part.
Hello, I'm Larry Myers, and welcome to this special one-hour edition of Motoworld. We've put together an hour's worth of motorcycle excitement, which will include the Unadilla 250cc Motocross Grand Prix and three-wheel Grand National Racing from upstate New York, hare scrambles action from Pennsylvania, and endurance road racing from Daytona Beach, Florida. We'll have an exclusive interview with King Kenny Roberts from his California ranch. Kenny was gracious enough to allow our Motoworld cameras into his home, and you'll see the King like you've never seen him before. All this leads up to Motoworld's exclusive half-hour coverage of Roberts' return to racing in the Champion Spark Plug 200 at Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California. But before we go out to Laguna Seca, let's check in on the World Championship Road Racing Series. Dennis Torres files this report.
As we enter the second half of the Grand Prix season, the story continues to be Freddie Spencer's attempt to win both the 250 and 500 world titles. In Holland, round 7, Spencer and the rest of the 250 competitors had to compete in miserable conditions. While many of the riders found it difficult to stay on the track, Spencer, number 19, rode away from the field. His Honda RS250 was working flawlessly, and he enjoyed a relatively easy win. German Martin Wimmer followed Spencer home, with another German, Anton Mang, finishing third. In the 500 race, rain began to pour out of the skies. The field took the green in horrible racing conditions. Randy Mamola, number 2, took the lead from the outset. Spencer, meanwhile, was a victim of a first-lap accident. Frenchman Christian Saron was blamed for the accident, and the two had words on the way back to the pits. Up front, Mamola was in total control. Britain's Ron Haslam was enjoying his best outing of the season, but it wasn't long before a charging Eddie Lawson swept by to displace Haslam to third. Moments later, Lawson visited the hay bales. Haslam was back into second place. For Lawson, it was a critical mistake, losing an opportunity to overtake Spencer in the 500 standings. Honda-mounted Mamola cruised to his first win of the year and his second Dutch TT win in a row. Haslam continued on for second, while his Honda Britain teammate, Wayne Gardner, rounded out the top 3. Round 8 took the Grand Prix tour to Belgium, the site of Freddie Spencer's first Grand Prix victory. In the 250 race, Spencer, number 19, shot away from the field from his pole position. Behind Spencer, Anton Mang, number 5, and Carlos Lovato, number 3, battled for the runner-up position. Lovato finally winning the war. But the two former champions never came close to Spencer, who cruised to an easy win. In the 500 class, Spencer was left behind at the start. Fellow American Randy Mamola, number 2, and number 5, Rocket Ron Haslam, got the jump on the field. Spencer quickly caught the two early leaders and pulled away. Number 6, Christian Saron, and number 1, Eddie Lawson, also passed Mamola and Haslam, and the two factory Yamaha riders went head-to-head lap after lap. Reigning world champion Lawson finally got by his French rival in the late stages of the race. Mamola's day came to an abrupt end on lap 14 of 20. He clipped the rear end of Frenchman Raymond Roche and went crashing to the pavement. Mamola was lucky to escape with only a badly lacerated finger. Meanwhile, up front, the flying Spencer took the checkered flag and the double win. Spencer now enjoys a healthy lead in the 250 standings and a 10-point lead over Lawson in the 500 class. Reporting for Motoworld, this is Dennis Torres.
Still to come on Motoworld, the return of King Kenny Roberts. And coming up next, America versus the world in the U.S. 250 Motocross Grand Prix from Unadilla. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Look at my watch, it was 9:31, so I called my baby, said let's have some fun, and we rode. Riding on the rebel. We were riding on the rebel, rolling from the break of dawn.
The new Honda Rebel. Everything you ever wanted in your first motorcycle, only $12.98.
And we rode. Riding on the rebel. We were riding on a rebel, rolling from the break of dawn.
You know, when it comes to being a champion, size isn't everything. Who knows better than Doug Flutie? The main thing is you gotta be tough, like this small-size Ford Ranger. It packs plenty of V6 power up here. No other small V6 pickup beats it for power. And down here, there's independent front suspension. Real tough. Okay, go along. And the Ranger's cab is high and wide. Hey, do that again, Doug. What do you want, another miracle?
In the world of endurance racing, where tires have to be tough, there's a name that is legend: Dunlop. On 4 wheels or 2, from Le Mans to Dakar, from the East African Safari to the motorcycle Grand Prix circuit. What we learn on the track, we fine-tune, bringing you tires of legendary quality. Dunlop, the world's tire.
It's Intruder, chrome on chrome, stepped up seat, V-twin soul, but he don't care, he's got no doubt. It's Suzuki, man, let it all hang out. Sound and the fury slung down low, lean and mean, he's on the roll, but he don't care, he's got no doubt. Liquid cool, let it all hang out.
The 1986 Intruder, Suzuki man, Suzuki machine.
Welcome back to Motoworld. On last month's edition, we promised you coverage of the 500cc Motocross Grand Prix from Carlsbad, California. ABC owns the delayed broadcast rights and has refused us permission to show you the highlights. What you would have seen was Honda's David Bailey sweep both motos in convincing fashion. Motoworld congratulations go out to David for giving American riders their 5th Carlsbad win in 6 years. Meanwhile, the Bel Ray Ford Motor Company U.S. Grand Prix from Unadilla, New York was far from a one-man show. Motoworld was there, and we'll show you the highlights right now. Of the 7 Grand Prix run at Unadilla, Americans had won 5 and were heavy favorites to win again in 1985. Heinz Kinnegartner, the reigning 250cc world champion from Austria, explains why.
We have 6 hours different between Europe and America, and the food and the hot weather, very wet. It's very difficult for us.
Despite the problems, European riders love Unadilla.
Yes, it's completely different. It's a little bit crazy, but I like these people.
At the start of Moto number 1, Ohio privateer Tom Carson, number 27, found himself with a lead. It was short-lived, however, as Yamaha's Rick Johnson found an inside line tailored for passing. Johnson was soon joined by the Frenchman Vimon and Americans Keith Bowen, Johnny O'Mara, Jeff Ward, Bob Hanna, and a host of others. Heinz Kinnegartner was trying to catch that exclusive group and paid the price. The Austrian world champion was uninjured but was out of contention. Meanwhile, Vimon dropped off the pace. O'Mara moved to second with Hanna number 25 third and Bowen number 24 fourth. Watch Bowen take an inside line and a piece of Hanna's leg. Seconds later, he tried it again and this time goes by. Hanna had to be thinking of several past incidents involving Bowen and rough riding tactics, but he kept a cool head, repassed Bowen, and concentrated on the matter at hand. With 8 laps down, O'Mara took the lead and Johnson hit the ground, allowing Hanna to move to second. 5 laps later, in vintage Bob Hanna style, feet off the pegs, the Hurricane passes O'Mara. But the show was not done yet. Watch as Hanna jumps the berm. O'Mara squirts underneath, and Hanna crunches O'Mara's leg. In obvious pain, O'Mara waves Hanna by. Hanna held on for the first moto win. O'Mara finished second. Whatever Tom Carson did right in Moto number 1, he did again in Moto number 2. The Honda-mounted privateer took his second hole shot of the day with Johnny O'Mara just inches behind. O'Mara wasted no time in setting the tempo for Moto number 2. He quickly passed Carson and with a clear track and inspired riding, immediately opened the lead. For Bob Hanna, it was another page in the Unadilla book of hard luck. A first-lap crash put Hanna at the back of the pack without a clutch. From dead last, the Hurricane moved to 5th, but time ran out as the O-Show swept the Moto and the Unadilla overall win. The August 20th edition of Motoworld will be another one-hour special, including a full half-hour of highlights from Unadilla. We'll have interviews with top American and European riders with an in-depth look at Unadilla itself. The Unadilla track is described by many as the best in the world. On Tuesday, August 20th, you'll find out why. This Motoworld special will mark the first Unadilla telecast in history. Be sure to mark your calendar and be with us for this historic occasion exclusively here on the USA Network. For his outstanding performance at Unadilla, the O-Show, Johnny O'Mara, is our July Castro Rider of the Month. In winning at Unadilla, O'Mara beat the best of the Europeans as well as a field loaded with American stars. It was the third Grand Prix victory of O'Mara's career. As Castrol Rider of the Month, O'Mara receives a custom embroidered racing jacket from Castrol. The famed Daytona Speedway has hosted motorcycle races since 1961. But not until this year did cycles race at the Speedway at night. Motoworld was there for the inaugural running of the Paul Revere 250. For the past 18 years, Daytona's Paul Revere 250 was a sports car race. But now, the preliminary to Daytona's annual July 4th Firecracker 400 stock car race belongs to motorcycles. More specifically, the AMA U.S. Endurance Championship. Roger Edmondson is the man behind the AMA Championship Cup Series. Besides running the show, Edmondson is an endurance racing ambassador. He feels the sport has a lot going for it.
Well, endurance racing offers a different situation than a sprint race. It's a longer distance race, so there's a premium on tuning and machine reliability. You also end up with a team ethic. You have several riders who take turns and different riding styles. It gives the older rider a chance to stay in the sport at a little different pace than if he was riding an 8-lap sprint race, for example.
80 teams showed up for the inaugural event. The stars of the cast were Dr. John's Team Moto Guzzi, the top-ranked team in the series, and Team Ontario, the defending series champions. Pro Superbike standouts Kevin Schwantz and Dale Quarterly were also on hand. Quarterly, known for his radical knee-dragging riding style, had mixed feelings about racing in the Daytona darkness.
Here at Daytona, the track is fairly well lit up. You do need headlights, so it's not that difficult. The problem you entail is you can't see the edge of the track. So sometimes you'll come out of the turn, you'll be trying to catch someone ahead of you, you'll really be pushing it, and all of a sudden you notice, I'm on the edge. You see the grass, you have nowhere to go, and you're trying to hold the bike on. Other than that, the rest of the course is fairly easy.
10 p.m. and 80 motorcycles took the green flag for 250 miles around Daytona's 3.5-mile road racing course. The Paul Revere is the only American endurance race run entirely at night. That made pitboard signaling a little difficult, but the top teams came prepared. Lights and fluorescent numbers and letters were the answer. Team Ontario's 1000cc Honda #1 was clearly the fastest bike on the track. But as the old adage says, to finish first, you first must finish. Repeated brake problems slowed Team Ontario and eventually knocked them out of the race. A dejected Lynn Miller and teammate John Ashmead watched as Dr. John's Team Moto Guzzi took the checkered flag and the historical inaugural win. Dr. John, a Pennsylvanian dentist and Team Moto Guzzi ramrod, was ecstatic in the Daytona winner's circle.
A win at Daytona is like a win at no place else. This is the capital of speedway racing, and we get a special thrill just being here.
Dr. John's winning rider duo were quick to single out John's bike preparation as the key to victory.
The Moto Guzzi ran really fast. It ran a lot better than it has in the past. It's getting better every weekend. That's John Whitner doing that work.
Everything worked really nice. The bike is John just did an excellent job prepping the bike. It just couldn't be any better.
Congratulations go out to the Daytona International Speedway and the AMA Championship Cup Series for an outstanding inaugural show.
When you drive a tough Ford truck, there's one place you'll want to be.
On the road again. My Ford truck and me on the road again. Work or play, there can't be any tougher friend. I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Just can't wait to see what's around the bend. When you drive a Ford, you're driving with a friend. my Ford truck and me on the road again. Look at my watch, it was 9:31, so I called my baby, said let's have some fun, and we rode. Riding on the rebel, we were riding on the rebel, rolling from the break of dawn.
The new Honda Rebel. Everything you ever wanted in your first motorcycle, only $12.98.
And we rode, riding on the rebel. We were riding on a rebel, rolling from the break of dawn.
Hi, I'm Tom Watson with a tip to take the fear out of sand play. Weaken your grip. Turn your hands counterclockwise and point the left.
Request from our viewers is for three-wheel racing action. So our Motoworld cameras traveled to New York for Grand National ATV racing. One of the fastest growing forms of motorsports is ATV racing. In Little Valley, New York, stop number 7 of the 1985 USA Championship Series, we caught up with Roy Jansen, president of the American All-Terrain Vehicle Association, to find out why.
This is the first year that we've put together a nationwide Grand National Series, something that hits all parts of the country and exposes ATV competition to all parts of society, and we're real thrilled by the way things have gone. We've had good races all over the country. We've got had the opportunity to be in good facilities, so we couldn't be more pleased. We think we've done a real good job as far as bringing sponsorship in, exposing the ATV product to the American public, and just letting folks know that ATVs are a lot of fun.
At the New York event, there were over 300 entries in 23 amateur and 6 pro classes. Racing in the USA Championship Series is well supervised, and riders wear the latest in safety equipment. Despite an occasional on-track miscue, in close to 200 separate races, the ambulance on hand for the event was never pressed into service. Like any form of motorsports, there are those that travel in style and comfort with the latest in equipment, and those that make do on a shoestring. ATVs, unlike most motorsports, go off on schedule despite the weather. Some riders, in fact, prefer mud and seem to enjoy the lack of traction and slippery conditions. The main concern is tires.
Well, it's according to how the track chews up, or, you know, as the races go on, if they get blown off if the mud blows off the track and makes a groove, then we'll go with a slicker type tire. But if it goes, you know, it's just like pouring down raining like it was yesterday while we were racing, and it gets really muddy and a lot of water on top, we'll probably go with a knobby type tire.
The 250 Pro class provided some of the hottest action of the weekend. Kawasaki teammates number 7, Steve Mendenhall, and number 31, Jim White, battled for the lead throughout the 15-lap main event. On the last lap, when it appeared that Mendenhall had it all but wrapped up, White took an outside line, hooked up, and while sliding sideways, charged into the lead. From that point, White breezed home the winner.
I had a good idea. I watched the 200 race, and I was watching Greg Baker around that, and I couldn't figure out why they were all going to the inside, but it was a lot smoother. So, you know, I tried it a couple times. When Steve got out in the lead, that's where my idea was that I could pass him. I tried it a couple times, and he got wise to it. He started going out wide, so I couldn't try him out there. And then towards the end of the race, I kept going inside after that. And then he started coming back in for me. And then it was just a last-ditch effort, you know, I had to try it.
Also on the program and rapidly gaining in popularity were the 4-wheel versions of the 3-wheelers. Confused? Don't be. Just sit back and enjoy the action.